Then cascading style sheets, or CSS, well, that's your interior design. It's the paint on the walls, it's the choice of flooring, the lighting, the arrangement of the furniture that makes a room actually pleasant to be in. Without CSS, the web is essentially just a giant unformatted text document. But with it, we get the visually rich digital world we navigate every single day.
You know, back in the early days of the web, browsers were notorious for reading CSS code completely differently. Enter the ACID2 test. This was a really brilliant benchmark to push browsers toward actual universal standards. Older browsers really struggled to piece the CSS rules together, and they'd spit out these broken, jagged messes. But when the code is read exactly as intended, those precise instructions align perfectly to create a neat, smiling face. It really underscores just how much power CSS has over the final look of your content.
So, to get you building those perfect layouts, here's our roadmap. First, the secret language of CSS. 2. Divs, spans, and classes. 3. Painting with colors. 4. Typography and fonts. And 5. Perfect spacing and layout.
Okay, Section 1, the secret language of CSS. Let's decode this.
Basically, everything relies on this one core formula. The selector is the thing you want to change. The property is the specific feature you're changing, and the value is your exact instruction. Think of it kind of like commanding a smart home, right? The selector is living room lights, the property is brightness, and the value is 50%. In CSS, you wrap these rules in curly braces, and you cap them off with a semicolon. And that semicolon is absolutely crucial. It's what tells the browser, hey, I'm done here, ready for the next command.
Let's look at a really simple line of code. This tells the browser to grab every single heading 1 element, that's our H1 selector, make the text red, and perfectly center it. Inside our curly braces, the color property gets the value red, capped with a semicolon. Then the text align property gets the value center. It's super logical, it's incredibly direct, and it lets you rewrite the look of an entire website with just a few keystrokes.
Moving right along to Section 2, divs, spans, and classes.
This brings us to a major beginner contrast that you absolutely have to master. First, we have the div tag. Div stands for division. It's your generic block container. When you use a div, it naturally creates a line break before and after it. It induces a return. It's like building an entirely new room in your digital house to hold a specific layout. Then on the flip side, we have the span tag. Span is a generic inline container. It does not create a line break. You use a span when you just want to highlight or style a few specific words inside an already existing paragraph. It's kind of like throwing a colorful throw pillow into a couch you already own.
But here's a question. How do we style only a specific div or span without accidentally changing all of them? Well, we use a class selector, indicated by a period. By writing .fancy, you create a custom class. You can then jump into your HTML and basically stick this fancy name tag on any element you want. This lets you universally apply a vibrant orange background, black text, and an italic font style, but selectively only to the elements wearing that fancy tag. It's literally the ultimate tool for reusability.
Okay, Section 3, painting with colors. Definitely the fun part.
For colors, you have 3 main palettes to work with. First, simple keywords like red or blue. There are 17 standard colors defined in Basic CSS, which is great for quick testing, but let's be honest, kind of limiting if you want your site to look like it was built after 1995. When you need an exact, pixel-perfect brand match, you use 6 hex codes. That's a hashtag followed by the precise mix of red, green, and blue. Pure red, for instance, is hashtag FF0000. Finally, modern CSS uses HSL, hue, saturation, and lightness. This lets you intuitively pick colors right from a color wheel, which is a massive upgrade for designers.
Next up, Section 4, Typography and Fonts.
The font you choose totally dictates the mood of your content. Let's break down the core properties here. Font size lets you control the scale, font weight allows you to dial in the boldness, and letter spacing can give your text a really tight, dense feel or an airy, cinematic spread. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is font family. You should always use a comma-separated list for font family. Why? Because you are relying on the fonts installed on your visitor's computer. If you specify Arial and they don't have it, the browser will move down the list to Helvetica and then finally fall back to a generic sans serif. This guarantees your design doesn't totally break just because a user is missing a single file.
Actually, a quick warning here from our sources before we move on. It is incredibly easy to get lazy and just wrap absolutely everything in a div tag. This leads to a highly contagious beginner disease known as divitis. A good web page should have a real diversity of meaningful HTML tags, things like headings, paragraphs, and lists. Don't strip away the meaning of your HTML just to style a bunch of generic boxes. We want to use CSS to enhance the structure that's already there.
And finally, Section 5, perfect spacing and layout. Getting your elements to sit perfectly on the page requires understanding the CSS box model. And this right here is the most important distinction you'll learn today. When you apply padding, you are adding space inside the box. It grows inward from the border. Padding belongs to the element itself and actually increases the visible size of your colored background. It's like adding thicker, plush cushions to the inside of your room so the walls don't feel quite so cramped. On the other hand, margin is space outside the box. Margin pushes away neighboring elements. Margin does not belong to the elements. It has no background color. It's completely invisible. It's the exterior lawn keeping your neighbor's house at a comfortable distance. Just remember, padding is inside, margin is outside.
Now, typing out margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left every single time? Yeah, that takes forever. Enter CSS shorthand. You can set all 4 sides at once, and it always flows clockwise starting from noon, top, right, bottom, left. So typing 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 5 pixels, 10 pixels handles the entire box in one neat line. And if you only use 2 values, say 20 and 10, CSS is actually smart enough to apply the first value to the top and bottom and the second value to the left and right. It is a massive time saver.
Let's put the whole shebang together. In just 4 steps, we can take a generic plain text container and turn it into a styled professional block. Step 1, target it with our fancy class. Step 2, add a crisp background color using a hex code. Step 3, the text is a little crammed against the edges, so we add some padding to let it breathe. And Step 4, apply a clean sans serif font family. 4 simple rules, and you have a total transformation.